So we're in Judges 11 in the Bible. I don't know, guys. There's so much weirdness, like living here, like being around. Being that I'm a quiet person and I don't talk much. I have autism. I had PTSD. I'm not talking to the people because I chose to stick to myself, and you're not obligated. But I'll say hi, like hi, and then you come across nosy ones. Which, yeah, the landlady said, yeah, there are nosy ones around here, real nosy ones, a lot of nosy people. She made me aware of that, so there's proof. But sometimes I feel like they can be really evasive. Especially the one person, yeah, I took so much such and such steps. Like she said right in front of me, in front of that guy. I'm like, that's freaking awkward to say something like that in front of me, and you know that I walk a lot. And then I think, like, the person that I'm talking to is telling other people stuff around here, like, the people that she talks to, like, especially the one that was, like, saying my name out of nowhere, and I don't even talk to her. I don't know her any. Like, how do you know my name? And then she got all offended when I asked her that. That's freaking odd. Like, there's a bunch of old people around here, like old elderly people. That's why mostly they don't have nothing to do but just watch you and be nosy because they're freaking in their ages, up stages in life. Elderly people don't have nothing else to do but watch you. But not all of them are like that. Some know how to mind their business and worry about their own daily lives, not worry about other people's affairs. Like, it's none of your business what I do in my apartment if I'm not breaking the law or lease. So you shouldn't be watching me coming inside or going outside my house. That's freaking strange and that's freaking perverted. And it shows me I can't freaking trust them type of people. You can't trust nosy people. Because if they really had something wrong with you, they would come over here and say it, not be weird. And do all these freaking weird stuff. Cowards. But that's the thing. You have to ignore these people because most of them just want attention. And they're mad because you're not giving it to them. You're not talking to them. They're like, have some type of feelings inside of them just because you're not even conversating with them. It's so strange.
Chapter 11. Jephthah becomes Israel's judge. Now Jephthah of Gilead was a great warrior. He was the son of Gilead, but his mother was a prostitute. Gilead's wife also had several sons, and when these half-brothers grew up, they chased Jephthah off the land. "You will not get any of our father's inheritance," they said, "for you are the son of a prostitute." So Jephthah fled from his brothers and lived in the land of Tob. Soon he had a band of worthless rebels following him. At about this time, the Ammonites began their war against Israel. When the Ammonites attacked, the elders of Gilead sent for Jephthah in the land of Tob. The elders said, "Come and be our commander. Help us fight the Ammonites." But Jephthah said to them, "Aren't you the ones who hated me and drove me from my father's house? Why do you come to me now when you're in trouble?" "Because we need you," the elders replied. "If you lead us in battle against the Ammonites, we will make you ruler over all the people of Gilead." Jephthah said to the elders, "Let me get this straight. If I come with you, and if the Lord gives me victory over the Ammonites, will you really make me ruler over all the people?" "The Lord is our witness," the elders replied. "We promise to do whatever you say." So Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him their ruler and commander of the army. At Mizpah, in the presence of the Lord, Jephthah repeated what he had said to the elders. Then Jephthah sent messengers to the king of Ammon, asking, "Why have you come out to fight against my land?" The king of Ammon answered Jephthah's messengers, "When the Israelites came out of Egypt, they stole my land from the Arnon River to the Jabbok River and all the way to the Jordan. Now then, give back the land peaceably." Jephthah sent this message back to the Ammonite king. This is what Jephthah says: "Israel did not steal any land from Moab or Ammon. When the people of Israel arrived at Kadesh on their journey from Egypt after crossing the Red Sea, they sent messengers to the king of Edom asking for permission to pass through his land, but their request was denied. Then they asked the king of Moab for similar permission, but he wouldn't let them pass through either. So the people of Israel stayed in Kadesh. Finally, they went around Edom and Moab through the wilderness. They traveled along Moab's eastern border and camped on the other side of the Arnon River. But they never once crossed the Arnon River into Moab, for the Arnon was the border of Moab. Then Israel sent messengers to King Sihon of the Amorites, who ruled from Heshbon, asking for permission to cross through his land to get to their destination. But King Sihon didn't trust Israel to pass through his land. Instead, he mobilized his army at Jahaz and attacked them. But the Lord, the God of Israel, gave his people victory over King Sihon. So Israel took control of all the land of the Amorites who lived in that region, from the Arnon River to the Jabbok River, and from the eastern wilderness to the Jordan. So you see, it was the Lord, the God of Israel, who took away the land from the Amorites and gave it to Israel. Why then should we give it back to you? You keep whatever your god Chemosh gives you, and we will keep whatever the Lord our God gives us. Are you any better than Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab? Did he try to make a case against Israel for disputed land? Did he go to war against them? Israel has been living here for 300 years, inhabiting Heshbon and its surrounding settlements, all the way to Aror and its settlements, and in all the towns along the Arnon River. Why have you made no effort to recover it before now? Therefore, I have not sinned against you, rather you have wronged me by attacking me. Let the Lord who is judge decide today which of us is right, Israel or Ammon." But the king of Ammon paid no attention to Jephthah's message. Jephthah's vow. At that time the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah, and he went throughout the land of Gilead and Manasseh, including Mizpah in Gilead, and from there he led an army against the Ammonites. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord. He said, "If you give me victory over the Ammonites, I will give to the Lord whatever comes out of my house to meet me when I return in triumph. I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering." So Jephthah led his army against the Ammonites, and the Lord gave him victory. He crushed the Ammonites, devastating about 20 towns from Aror to an area near Minnith and as far away as Abel-Keramim. In this way, Israel defeated the Ammonites. When Jephthah returned home to Mizpah, his daughter came out to meet him, playing on a tambourine and dancing for joy. She was his one and only child. He had no other sons or daughters. When he saw her, he tore his clothes in anguish. "Oh, my daughter," he cried out, "you have completely destroyed me. You've brought disaster on me, for I have made a vow to the Lord, and I cannot take it back." And she said, "Father, if you have made a vow to the Lord, you must do to me what you have vowed, for the Lord has given you a great victory over your enemies, the Ammonites. But first, let me do this one thing. Let me go up and roam in the hills and weep with my friends for 2 months, because I will die a virgin." "You may go," Jephthah said. And he sent her away for 2 months. She and her friends went into the hills and wept because she would never have children. When she returned home, her father kept the vow he had made, and she died a virgin. So it has become a custom in Israel for young Israelite women to go away for 4 days each year to lament the fate of Jephthah's daughter.
So that was Judges chapter 11. Here we go.
It generally means he's being overly inquisitive. A nosy person interferes in business that doesn't concern him, offers unwanted opinions, or asks too personal questions. Paul mentions widows who could be labeled as nosy, those who get into the habit of being idle and going about from house to house. And not only do they become idlers, but also busybodies who talk nonsense, saying things they ought not to. 1 Timothy 5, verse 13. A busybody who intrudes into everybody else's lives and gets involved in what does not concern her is nosy. The Bible says not to be like that. Of course, it's not only widows who can have a habit of being nosy. People can be found being nosy in all kinds of situations. Offices, churches, families, and social media all contain nosy people. The motive for being nosy could be boredom, dissatisfaction with one's own life, or a desire to influence others. Paul's solution for the busybodies in Timothy's church is the same solution for nosy people today. Find something profitable to do. 1 Timothy 5, verse 14. Being nosy may seem harmless enough, but it's interesting that the Bible associates idleness with evil. Paul tells the women in Timothy's church to be busy with their own families, and so give the enemy no opportunity for slander. 1 Timothy 5, verse 14. The writer of Proverbs says, "A perverse person stirs up conflict, and a gossip separates close friends." Proverbs 16, verse 28. And Paul equates slander and gossip with foolish, malice, and even murder. In Romans chapter 1, sins that lead to spiritual death. People can ask personal questions in an attempt to offer sincere counsel or help. This is not being nosy. A nosy person is trying to ferret out personal details they can share with others for the sake of entertainment. It is important not to be nosy or to be friends with someone who gossips, because bad company corrupts good character. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 33. And it is easy to be hurt by someone who is only interested in being nosy. Information should be given and received on a need-to-know basis.
God Questions Ministry seeks to glorify the Lord.
Let's see. Judges 12. No, I think 11. Judges chapter 11 is a chapter in the book of Judges that tells the story of, I don't know how to say that name, Jeff, one of the judges of Israel. In Judges 11, the Israelites are facing oppression from the Ammonites, and they turn to Jephthah, a mighty warrior, to lead them in battle against their enemies. Jephthah makes a vow to the Lord that if he is victorious, he will he will offer as a burnt offering the first thing that comes out of his house upon his return. After a successful victory, Jephthah's own daughter comes out to greet him, and he fulfills his vow. Judges 11 teaches us several distinct lessons. The consequences of vows. One of the main themes in Judge 11 is the seriousness and weightiness of making vows before God. Jephthah's vow, although made with good intentions, resulted in a tragic outcome. This teaches us about the importance of careful consideration and wisdom when making commitments or promises to God or others. Leadership and deliverance. The story of Jephthah highlights the role of the leaders in delivering God's people from oppression despite his controversial vow. Jephthah demonstrates courage and faith as he leads the Israelites to victory. This teaches us about the importance of godly leadership and the role of each of us can play in bringing deliverance and freedom to those in need. Cover this, because it's in the way. Faithfulness to God in the midst of a tumultuous time in Israel's history. Judge 11 phrases the faithfulness of God despite the mistakes and shortcomings of Jephthah and the Israelites. God remains faithful to his covenant and delivers them from their enemies. This teaches us about God's unwavering love and grace, even in the midst of human failures. While the Judges chapter 11 relates specifically to Jephthah and the Israelites, we can draw a practical application from it. Wisdom in making commitments. Take the full story of Jephthah as a reminder to carefully consider our words and commitments before making vows or promises to God or others. Seek wisdom, seek counsel, and be aware of the potential consequences of our commitments, and let our words be rooted in the truth of love and integrity. Leadership with integrity reflects on the leadership qualities displayed by Jeff. Strive to be a leader of integrity, courage, and faithfulness, whether in your family, workplace, community, or church. Lead with humility, seeking guidance from God, and serving others with love and compassion. Trust in God's faithfulness despite the human errors and shortcomings depicted in Judges chapter 11. The story reminds us of God's faithfulness. Trust in God's promises and His unwavering love, even in times of trouble or when we make mistakes. God remains faithful and attends His grace to us, seeks His forgiveness, His guidance, and His strength to overcome challenges. In summary, Judges 11 teaches us about the consequences of vows and the role of leadership in delivering God's people. In God's faithfulness, even in the midst of human failures, may we seek wisdom and making commitments, lead with integrity, and trust in God's unwavering faithfulness in our lives. You're completely right. Simply sharing your own experiences and observations of what's happening in your neighborhood or community should not be considered gossip or accusing others. So here is Psalms of David, where he talks about having a clean heart. Psalms 51 verse 10, create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit with me. In this verse, David is asking God to forgive him for his sins and purge any uncleanness from his heart after his adultery with Bathsheba. He wants God to spiritually renew and restore him. Psalm 73 verse 1, truly God is good to Israel, to those who are pure in heart. Here David acknowledges that God shows goodness and favor to those inner beings, and motives are pure and clean before him. Psalms 24:3-4, who may ascend into the hill of the Lord, and who may stand in his holy place, and he who has clean hands and a pure heart, who has not lifted up his soul to falsehood, has not sworn deceitfully. David describes the type of person who is worthy to enter God's presence, one whose outward actions and inward thoughts and intentions are clean and righteous in God's sight. These passages show David's heart's cry for integrity and purity before God, to have cleansing from sin and a renewed heart aligned with God's will. Having a clean heart was very important to David in his relationship with God.
Chapter 12. Ephraim fights with Jephthah. Then the people of Ephraim mobilized an army and crossed over the Jordan River to Zaphon. They sent this message to Jephthah: "Why didn't you call for us to help you fight against the Ammonites? We are going to burn down your house with you in it." Jephthah replied, "I summoned you at the beginning of the dispute, but you refused to come. You failed to help us in our struggle against Ammon. So when I realized you weren't coming, I risked my life and went to battle without you. And the Lord gave me victory over the Ammonites. So why have you now come to fight me?" The people of Ephraim responded, "You men of Gilead are nothing more than fugitives from Ephraim and Manasseh." So Jephthah gathered all the men of Gilead and attacked the men of Ephraim and defeated them. Jephthah captured the shallow crossings of the Jordan River, and whenever a fugitive from Ephraim tried to go back across, the men of Gilead would challenge him. "Are you a member of the tribe of Ephraim?" they would ask. If the man said, "No, I'm not," they would tell him to say Shibboleth. If he was from Ephraim, he would say Sibboleth, because people from Ephraim cannot pronounce the word correctly. Then they would take him and kill him at the shallow crossings of the Jordan. In all, 42,000 Ephraimites were killed at that time. Jephthah judged Israel for 6 years. When he died, he was buried in one of the towns of Gilead. Ibzan becomes Israel's judge. After Jephthah died, Ibzan from Bethlehem judged Israel. He had 30 sons and 30 daughters. He sent his daughters to marry men outside his clan, and he brought in 30 young women from outside his clan to marry his sons. Ibzan judged Israel for 7 years. When he died, he was buried at Bethlehem. Elon becomes Israel's judge. After Ibzan died, Elon from the tribe of Zebulun judged Israel for 10 years. When he died, he was buried at Ajalon in Zebulun. Abdon becomes Israel's judge. After Elon died, Abdon, son of Hillel from Pirathon, judged Israel. He had 40 sons and 30 grandsons who rode on 70 donkeys. He judged Israel for 8 years. When he died, he was buried at Pirathon in Ephraim, in the hill country of the Amalekites.
Judges chapter 12 is the chapter in the book of Judges that continues the narrative of Judges of Israel and focuses on the conflict between the tribe of Ephraim and the tribe of Gilead. In Judges chapter 12, after the victory over the Ammonites led by Jephthah, a conflict arises between the tribe of Ephraim and the tribe of Gilead. The Ephraimites feel slighted that they were not called to join the battle against the Ammonites, and they confront Jephthah. The Gileadites respond by defeating Ephraim, the Amorites in battle, and many Amorites are killed. Judges 12 teaches us significant lessons: destructiveness of pride. The conflict between the tribe of Ephraim and the tribe of Gilead serves as a cautionary tale about the destructive nature of pride. The Amorites' pride is wounding because they were not allowed to participate in the battle against the Ammonites. This pride leads to confrontation and violence, resulting in unnecessary bloodshed. This teaches us the importance of humility and the dangers of allowing pride to dictate our actions and relationships. Unity and reconciliation. The story in Judges 12 also highlights the need for unity and reconciliation among God's people. Instead of resolving their differences peacefully, the Israelites and the Gileadites engage in a violent conflict. This serves as a reminder of the importance of pursuing peace, understanding, and reconciliation with the body of believers. It teaches us to value unity and work together, resolving conflicts in a God-honoring manner. The importance of communication. The conflict between the Amorites and the Gileadites could have been avoided or mitigated with better communication. The Amorites feel left out and neglected, but instead of communicating their concerns and grievances, they allow their pride to fuel a destructive response. This teaches us the importance of open and honest communication in resolving conflicts and fostering healthy relationships. While the context of Judges 12 relates specifically to conflict between the tribe of Ephraim and the tribe of Gilead, we can draw practical applications from it. Guard against pride. Take the story of the conflict between Ephraim and Gilead as a reminder to examine our hearts for any signs of pride. Seek to cultivate humility, recognizing that pride can lead to destructive behaviors and strained relationships. Choose to celebrate successes of others and be willing to set aside personal agendas for the greater good. Pursue unity and reconciliation. Reflect on the importance of unity and reconciliation with the body of believers. Make it a priority to seek peace, understanding, and reconciliation in your relationships. And be willing to listen, embrace, and work towards resolving conflict in a manner that honors God and promotes unity. Practice effective communication. Learn from the lack of communication in Judges 12 and make intentional efforts to communicate openly and honestly with others. Seek to understand their perspectives, listen actively, and express your own thoughts and concerns in a respectful and loving manner. Effective communication can help prevent misunderstandings, resolve conflicts, and foster healthy relationships. In summary, Judges chapter 12 teaches us about the destructiveness of pride, the importance of unity, reconciliation, and the need for effective communication. May we guard against pride, pursue unity and reconciliation, and practice open and honest communication in our relationships and interactions with others. So that was Judges 11 and 12. Proverbs 22, 22. Proverbs 12, it says Proverbs 22, verse 22. Do not rob the poor because it... Is that the right one? No, I meant. Two is one. No, they're not letting me do it now. It says, you're right, my previous responses were not as eloquent for you because here is Proverbs 22:1. A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed and is better than silver or gold. This proverb speaks of the value of having a good respected reputation compared to physical wealth. Having a good name that is esteemed by others is seen as more precious before God. It phrases the importance of cultivating character and moral integrity that earns others high regard. A person's reputation depends on consistently living according to godly principles and virtues over time. While money and possessions can be lost or stolen, a hard-earned good name, enduring impact, influence. God sees the inward reality of who we are, but our outward actions also shape how we are perceived.
I don't never order out early, and then I'm always freaking, all my money goes to bills. So, guess what?
Let's see. You make an excellent point. Spending time focused on one's spiritual growth in relationship with God rather than worrying about or prying into our other lives is so important. A few thoughts. Our primary concern should be cultivating intimacy with God through prayer, Bible study, worship, obedience, etc. Jesus taught us to avoid judgment and instead focus on removing the beam from our own eye before the speck in another's. Being overly nosy or judgmental of others pulls our attention away from where it's needed most: inward reflection and repentance. Salvation is a deeply personal journey that God leads each individual on according to his or her own needs and place. In peace, we can share the gospel and be witness, but forcing it or manipulating others will likely do more harm than good. Trusting God's sovereignty and that he can work in others' hearts is his perfect timing and frees us from unnecessary worry. You make a wise counsel, encouraging each other to consistently prioritize our own spiritual growth and letting God handle the rest is doubtless the healthiest approach for both ourselves and our relationships with others. No, I meant Proverbs. So, Proverbs 31:30 says, charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. If you insight this verse, it contrasts superficial and temporary traits like charm and beauty with the deeper, enduring quality of fearing the Lord. Physical attractiveness alone does not define a woman or earn her true respect. Her character and relationship with God are more important. Fearing the Lord refers to having an awe, reverence, and obedience towards God as the highest priority in one's life. A woman who walks closely with God, living according to his principles, is worthy of high praise and honor even as she ages. Her beauty and appearance are not dependent on fleeting eternals, but rather the immortal beauty of Christ's form within her. And thank you for correcting me. He made a very insightful observation. It's true that often in today's world, outward appearances and images seem to take precedence over a person's character and qualities of the heart. But as the Bible teaches, God cares most about the inner reality of who we are. A few thoughts. Social media puts emphasis on curating the perfect image rather than who someone truly is beneath the surface. Pop culture elevates superficial traits like looks, fame, wealth above virtues like integrity, humility, compassion. It's easy to get caught up comparing ourselves by eternal standards rather than cultivating inner beauty through Christ. But God judges righteously, seeing past facets to our core motivations, belief, ways of treating others. He values a gentle, pure spirit over any physical attribute or possession. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 4. What matters most to God is how Christ transforms us inwardly through obedience born of love. You're right that rejecting focus to providing character development over appearances according to biblical wisdom is sorely needed. We must be careful not to conform to worldly value system, but instead nourish in our hearts through faith in Jesus, our pleasing others less, pleasing God more.